You know what's funny is that following the Senate passing the billionaires' big tax break at the expense of, the poor, um, Washington, D.C. was hit by a severe thunderstorm, which is now here in New York City. And it was funny. I was on earlier with Adam Parkamenko, and he said, when Obama signed, I think it was like after marriage equality passed, and Obama signed like some executive order, some legislation, like a rainbow formed above the Capitol. And he's like, and here we are, where the depravity of the Republican senators is on full display. The depravity of this administration, the cruelty, the disgracefulness, the immorality is on full display, and a storm breaks out. God got jokes. Mother Nature has jokes. But nothing spells disaster more than what the Senate just did today in a 50-51 vote that JD Vance basically, stamped America's future. Let's buckle up, folks, because unfortunately, there is a lot to discuss, a lot of heinous things to discuss, and we got to get into it. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show, my dear friends. Let's jump in. Hello, damnation, and welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. Let's jump in because, what we thought was going to possibly take weeks in order to pass, but they decided in their marathon of voting and their marathon of whipping of votes to ensure that America's poor, working class, and middle class, the 90% of America, will endure a tremendous amount of suffering and undue pain and trauma caused by this big, disgusting billionaire bailout, which is exactly what it is. To call it anything else would be a lie, right? And so let's just jump in, friends. The Senate passes Trump's tax and spending cuts bill. Vance breaks a 50-50 tie. This is according to the AP. Senate Republicans hauled Trump's big tax breaks and spending cuts bill to passage Tuesday by the narrowest of margins, pushing past opposition from Democrats and their own GOP ranks after a turbulent overnight session. To overcome capped an unusually tense weekend of work at the Capitol, because who works on weekends? Not those lazy motherfuckers. The president's signature legislative priority teetering on the edge of approval for or collapse. In the end, the tally was 50-50. So let me just pause for a minute and remind you why elections matter. Why it matters that people pay attention. Why it matters that you don't fall for the fucking lies and the gaslighting that the Republican Party offers. Now, I know that many of these states are gerrymandered to the place of hell. I also know that guess what? 90 million Americans were eligible to vote in the last presidential election, and they didn't. So this is why a 50-50 split matters, and it matters who the fuck you vote for. Because guess what? Well, the BBB, big bullshit bill, would have never come under a Harris administration. And guess who would the tiebreaker have been in a Harris administration in the Senate? It would have been Tim Walz. Just for a moment, imagine that America. It wouldn't be the hellscape that we're living in now. So 3 Republican senators, Tillis of North Carolina that we talked about yesterday, Susan Collins of Maine, and Rand Paul of Kentucky joined all the Democrats in voting against the bill. The difficulty for Republicans who have the majority in Congress to wrestle the bill to this point, is not expected to let up. The package now goes back to the House, where Johnson of Louisiana had warned senators not to overhaul what his chamber had already approved, but the Senate did make changes, particularly to Medicaid, risking more problems ahead. House GOP leaders vow to put it on Trump's desk by the 4th of July deadline. So here's the thing. In both the House and the Senate, margins so fucking slim. Just again, another reminder. Republicans never had a fucking mandate. They were never given the mandate. They did not win the last election. And I say win. They did not win the last election with an overwhelming majority of people siding with the MAGA Project 2025 agenda that is now in full operation 6 months into this administration. No. They won by the skin of their fucking teeth, which is, again, going back to the beginning, why elections actually matter, why it matters that people vote. Because we're talking, folks, about the difference of a couple hundred or a couple thousand in a few states that have us living in this hellscape that we are in right the fuck now. So people who say, oh, well, I'm not really interested in politics. Politics doesn't have anything to do with me. Politics has everything to do with you, whether you choose to vote or not, because choosing not to vote is, in fact, a vote. Okay? So Rand Paul posted this. Throughout the vote-a-rama, I was working all night to stop Congress from adding to our debt because, just to remind you, this big bullshit bill adds $3 trillion to the national debt. Ask me how much Donald Trump's first round of tax cuts that he passed for billionaires back in his first term cost the American people. Oh, I'm pretty sure off the top of the dome, it was about $7 trillion. So given Donald Trump's first big bullshit bill and this second big bullshit bill, you're talking about nearly close to $10 trillion added to the deficit. Okay? All right. And this is coming from the fiscally responsible fucking crew, right? That have lied to the American people over generations to say that they're the adults in the room and they want to tighten up the purse strings and tighten up the wallet. And this is the kind of bullshit that they pass. So just know that they have been lying to our faces for generations. But now, now the hoods are off. The MAGA hats are on. We see very clearly, right? As we have wiped away the rose colored from our glasses, we see very clearly who they are. So you can't come up with any other nuance for yourself in this moment to say, well, maybe they're not that bad. No, they're actually fucking worse. Paul goes on to say, no earmarks, no handouts, just real fiscal reform. He said that he had met earlier with the VP and he said that he would vote for the measure if it included a 90% reduction in the debt ceiling. He says, I wasn't looking for favors. I wasn't horse trading. I was fighting for the American people and against out of control debt. Bottom line, I offered my vote for fiscal sanity. Congress chose to sell out taxpayers instead. Only once the bill is released will we know the true price, what the true price was. And ain't that the fucking truth? So speaking of people who are on some bullshit, and we talked about her yesterday, and there are not enough nasty names that I could call this woman, but I try to hold on to, class, dignity, and not go there. But Lisa Murkowski, according to Ryan Knowles, and we're going to play the clip for you, stares me down for more than 10 seconds after I ask her to respond to Senator Rand Paul's critique of the deal she struck to get to the yes on this big bullshit bill. This is Senator Murkowski. Do I like this bill? No. I tried to take care of Alaska's interests. So take a listen and you tell me.
Senator Paul said that this was that your vote was a bailout for Alaska at the expense of the rest of the country.
Oh my.
That's what Senator Paul said.
My question was easy. Senator, we've got the.
I didn't say it, ma'am. I'm just asking for your response.
My response is I have an obligation to the people of the state of Alaska. And I live up to that every single day. I fight for my state's interests, and I make sure that Alaskans are understood. I work hard to take care of a state that has
It must be
more
hard to
unique
work with no spine.
situations, more unique people, and it's just different. And so when people suggest that federal dollars go to one of our 50 states in a, quote, bailout, I find that offensive.
I find her whole existence
I
offensive.
advocated for my state's interests. I will continue to do that, and I will make no excuses for doing that. Do I like this bill? No, because I tried to take care of Alaska's interests. But I know that in many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that we moved through an artificial deadline, an artificial timeline to produce something, to meet a deadline, rather than to actually try to produce the best bill for the country. But when I saw the direction that this is going, you can either say, I don't like it, and not try to help my state, or you can roll up your sleeves.
Have you ever heard a bigger load of bullshit in your life? Because what Rand Paul said, and again, I know that we're in hell when I'm agreeing with people like Rand Paul. When Rand Paul says, she said, voted yes on this bill because she got a bailout for her state. And she wants to stand there and do her best woman, her best white woman, clutch the pearls, shock face. How dare you? I could never, get the fainting fucking couch ready. This woman said, but I recognize that, harm is going to come to other states in the country, but I had to do what I needed to do for the state of Alaska. So everything that Rand Paul said was true. So your response should have just been fucking 10 toes down. Yeah, I'm a ghoul. Yeah, I'm heartless, but I did it for my state, and walk away. But don't sit there and pretend to have some type of grappling with a conscience that we know that you don't have because of the votes that you have put up for Donald Trump, when the world would have applauded you for saying, you know what? I can't in all due consciousness vote for this. And then the negotiation that you could have done wouldn't have just been on behalf of the fucking state of Alaska with its 10 goddamn people. It would have been on behalf of the 330 million Americans that make up this goddamn country. I am so sick to death. I am so sick to death of Lisa Murkowski. I'm so sick to death of her hemming and hawing. I pray to God that there is a comfortable, beautiful, hot, searing seat in hell for that woman. I really do. I don't know what the people of Alaska have gotten from her decades of time that she has been in the Senate, but my God, is she fucking worthless and shows it every friggin' vote. Rand Paul was correct, ma'am. You got a bailout for your state in trading to harm the rest of America. So just own that and be upfront about your vileness. Don't vote against the majority of Americans and then pretend that it was so fucking hard for you to do. That's the shit that makes me sick about these people. And then there is this, because Elon Musk is just back on a tear. The breakup is back on, and it's revving up to be worse than the first go round. Y'all, Elon Musk wrote this late yesterday. Anyone who campaigned on the promise of reducing spending but continues to vote on the biggest debt ceiling increase in history will see their face on this poster in the primary next year. Liar. Voted to increase America's debt by $5 trillion. So again, I know that I'm living in hell when I'm agreeing with the white nationalist transphobic motherfucker, but go ahead and primary them. If we have midterms, by all means, primary every single one of them. I can't imagine that you're going to find people that aren't as despicable and disgusting. You don't really care about that. You only care about electric vehicles. Nonetheless, if that's what it's going to take to get some of these disgusting people out and other people in, by all means, Elon, keep it up. And then there was this. So Kalshi is a site where you can bet on pretty much anything. Probably not good for those that have a little bit of a gambling issue, but nonetheless, as the bill passed the Senate today, they said breaking odds of Elon Musk creating a new political party in 2025 surged to 41%. The spike comes after Elon proposed forming the, quote, America Party. Is it time for another choice in America? As you can see in the top, Elon Musk retweeted this post. And here's the thing. He's worth $400+ billion. If he wanted to form a new fucking country, he could go and do that. And I wish he would, and take the rest of the white nationalists with him. Nonetheless, if he wants to fund a new party, I guarantee you that he can. And if he wants to use his super PAC as a way to bring down MAGA, I'm pretty sure that he can. And you know what? I'm all for it. Do what you will. So this is the funny shit, though. Oh, this is the shit that got me today. Because in the midst of the horror, I really did need a chuckle. Reporter, are you going to deport Elon Musk? Trump, we'll have to take a look. Can you take a listen to this?
We got a lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about that. I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out.
So because he does these whatever press conferences outside of the White House with the helicopter in the back, I'm going to put this up again. Reporter, are you going to deport Elon Musk? Trump, we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. The baby that Elon Musk created. You know what Doge is. The monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies. Let me just say something. He gets a lot of subsidies. Yeah, he gets a lot of subsidies. He got a lot of subsidies when Biden was in office. He got a lot of fucking subsidies when Trump was in office. He gets subsidies. This is the welfare queen that is eating high on the hog that Republicans have been on a hunt for, right? Since Reaganomics. This is the bitch they've been talking about. It is Elon Musk. The funny thing to me, though, is we may have to sick Doge on it. Can we remember who is actually in charge of Doge? Who stole America's data, including yours? Who spent $290 million to buy the presidency for you? And the only reason why you're president is because of Elon Musk? Elon Musk, who is the owner of Starlink and literally has satellites in orbiting Earth. You know what? I don't like Elon Musk at all. But the person who shouldn't be fucking around with Elon Musk is probably Donald Trump, the person who let him inside of his regime, that let him sleep in the Lincoln bedroom however many times that he wanted, that let him camp out at Mar-a-Lago, that gave him the keys to the kingdom, literally social security numbers, codes, all of these things, that he had his big balls and the other little fucking incel Elon Musk babies working on in Doge. So here's the thing. I'm saying to Elon, he's coming for you. Donald Trump's coming for you. Ice Barbie, she about to go send them to your house, kicking in the door. Okay? If I'm you, drop whatever it is that you have on Donald Trump and drop it now and drop it everywhere. I don't think he's going to be into you anymore. I don't think you guys are going to get back together. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I think that at a point of a breakup, when we're talking about deporting the other person and literally having the power to do so, drop whatever it is that you have on Donald Trump. Go ahead. What's the worst that can happen? Those are my thoughts. So where do we go from here? Because it isn't just about Donald Trump wanting to deport Elon Musk, who I'm pretty sure is in the country illegally and has been in the country illegally. And maybe he came to the country, overstayed his fucking time. He's done more damage than any fucking brown undocumented person could ever have possibly done. So, you know, whatever. But fact of the matter is that Donald Trump isn't just going to stop there. At his news conference today, this should have sent off news flashes, and this should be trending on every fucking social platform. It should be breaking news across every cable news channel, and it should be nonstop coverage. But alas, we live in America. So Trump calls for deporting U.S. citizens. That's right. He said, quote, and I'm going to play the clip. We also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here too, if you want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job.
You know, a little controversial, but I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error. It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen. And it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time. People that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them. People that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, you know, we forget about them. We had some bad accidents in New York, and they're not accidents.
Interesting. Very bad people. I guess not like Vance Butler, who killed the Minnesota House representative and her husband and her dog, and then shot 2 other people, state senator and his wife. Guess that wasn't, but not part of the list of bad homegrowns that you're talking about. What about the Idaho shooter whose parents are full-blown MAGA. What about that one? You want to get rid of that bad person? That shooter? What about the other one, right? The other white nationalist that shot up a bunch of people. Do we want to get rid of them? What about, oh, that's right, the 1,500 people that invaded the Capitol on behest of you, insurrectionists that you all pardoned? You want to get rid of those bad people? No, because they're part of your homegrown militia that are cosplaying as ICE agents right now. You know, the Proud Boys, the stand back and stand by crew. Donald Trump has this fantasy in his mind where black and brown people are these menacing groups of gangs in our black skin and our brown skin, and and we're just going around lurking and coming out of the subways, right, and just beating the hell out of people. But you say nothing about the white nationalists that have been radicalized by your hot trash of a mouth. Absolutely nothing. Didn't even go to the funeral of Representative Hortman and her husband and their dog, where our former president, who is sick, and our former vice president went to go provide their sympathies, to go grieve with the family. Till this day, Donald Trump has not even picked up the phone. But he is sitting there and telling you what the plans are. And just so we're clear, Rolling Stone, great report out right now. Republican donors cash in on Alligator Alcatraz, which today in the live that I did with Adam Parkamenico, it was someone in the chat that said, we shouldn't be referring to it as Alligator Alcatraz. It's Alligator Auschwitz. Let's be clear about the language that we're using. Alcatraz was for criminals. Because this regime doesn't do due process, you don't even know who the fuck these people are. And what we do know from reporting from 60 Minutes, who Donald Trump has sued, is that 90% of those that were deported to CCOT in El Salvador had no criminal record whatsoever. So these are not criminals that are going to Alligator Auschwitz. They are brown and black people. They are U.S. citizens. And who is going to make bankroll on it? Oh, let me tell you. Trump traveled to Florida, right, to go tour the concentration camp, a 5,000-bed immigration center built in a remote, hot, and disgustingly humid corner of the Everglades. The facility, if you can call it that, is a collection of plastic tents outfitted with bunk beds in literal cages. Let me go back to the picture for a moment. Do you see the picture here? This is not a building, folks. This is a tent. What comes through Florida on a regular basis, and now rapidly so because of climate change? Mega hurricanes. This is in the Everglades. Okay. A collection of plastic tents outfitted with bunk beds and literal cages was built almost overnight on top of an abandoned airstrip in an area known as Alligator Alley. Republicans have emphasized the amount of dead. So, folks, let me tell you, I'm going to need a drink after today's show. Republicans have emphasized the amount of deadly wildlife surrounding the camp and the danger alligators and pythons might pose to any detained migrants who may attempt to escape. But folks, they're putting them in tents. It's not a fucking building made out of concrete or brick. Okay? So What can wild animals do in tents? Make their way inside. What happens in the Everglades with the humidity and the heat? Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes carry what? Disease. Are you getting the picture here of why we need to not call this Alligator Alcatraz, that it is actually a death camp that has been built in the United States and built more like propped up, because you don't build a tent. I want you to take a breath with me as I read the next sentence to you. The state GOP is even selling disturbing swamp-themed merchandise, touting the project, and Trump on Tuesday said, "I guess that's the concept," to a question about whether undocumented immigrants will be eaten by alligators if they try to escape. So not only have they propped up a tent that they're going to use to house innocent Black and brown people, that they're going to use to house US citizens that Donald Trump doesn't like, but they're also, it's not enough. They're making an even deeper fucking sociopathic grift off of it by selling merchandise. You know, I pray that I'm still around when history reports on this moment. I really do. If this country, if this planet even exists by then. You can't make this shit up. You can't. But so far, little has been said about how exactly the facility came to be. Rolling Stone reports, as it turns out, 2 contractors who worked to quickly prop up this alligator Auschwitz, which DeSantis refers to as a one-stop shop for detention, adjudication, and deportation, have been significant, guess what, donors to Satan and Trump. CDR Enterprises donated $1 million in December 2023 to Fight Right Inc., which was DeSantis's presidential PAC. Last year, DeSantis appointed Deport to the board of trustees at Florida International University and named his wife to the Florida Atlantic University board of trustees. Because it's what? Pay to motherfucking play. Okay? That's what we are doing here. Last June, CDR McGuire Incorporated donated $400,000 to Right for America, a pro-Trump super PAC. Deport donated $500,000 to the Trump 47 committee in October. He also gave $148,000 in December to the Kennedy Victory Fund, helping RFK Jr. clear some of his campaign debt. In January, CDR Enterprises contributed another $500,000 to Trump's inaugural committee. Bloomberg reported that SLSCO Limited, a construction company in Galveston, Texas, is also involved in this horrendous death camp, noting that the business had helped build part of Trump's border wall, which never got completed, during his first term as president. The firm is affiliated with brothers John, Todd, and William Sullivan, a company tied to the brothers. Sullivan Brothers Investment donated $30,000 in 2022 to DeSantis' state-level super PAC State Records Show. So all in all, let's go back to the other slide and somebody do the math in the chat for me. CDR, $1 million 1,000,009 when you add the 4 and the 5, another 5. So that's 2.5, 2.6 plus another 148. So basically, CDR on its own donated nearly $3 million to Trump and to Satan in order to probably cash in on this government contract that, by the way, our tax dollars are paying for. These are government contracts to private companies that did a pay to play. And not only are they on the board of trustees at some of these shitty Florida fucking universities, we're paying for these death camps. It's so fucking sick and so fucking appalling. Like, take a listen.
The likelihood of the one big beautiful bill passing, and we look forward to the success of this facility here. How many more facilities like this do you feel that the country needs in order to enact your agenda of mass deportations?
Well, I think we'd like to see them in many states, really, many states. This one, I know Ron's doing a second one, at least a second one, and probably a couple of more. And, you know, at some point they might morph into a system where you're going to keep it for a long time. You know, it's not that far away from jails that take years to build, and money is spent and wasted. And, you know, like the railway that they have in California that costs like 40 times more than it was supposed to cost. The same things happens with prisons. You look at this in a short period of time. Ron, James, and some of the people that really worked on it along with our people, they did this in less than a week. And you look at it, it's incredible.
They did it in less than a week because it's not a goddamn building. It's a tent. It's a tent filled with cages for human beings. The reason why other projects take time to do is because, I don't know, they're using actual building materials, and, I don't know, because there's a codes that you need to meet, standards that you need to have in order to get construction done. But between Trump and DeSantis, fuck a code. Who cares if they die in there? Because the whole point is that these are concentration camps. Who's coming in? They ain't going out. We already have people dying in ICE custody. Multiple at this point. How many do you think are going to die in a place that I'm certain they're not going to be given proper medicine, proper food, proper hydration, proper clothing? But who cares, right? Because Donald Trump says they're criminals, so they're criminals. The gardeners that they're picking up, the cooks, the nail workers, the nannies, these are the criminals that are going to suffer an extraordinary amount of that. And let me just stop saying that it's just because I want you to understand that it's us. This is how it begins. This is how it has always began. It begins with the one group that is the low-hanging fruit, that you conjure up a stereotype and an image of criminals running roughshod over the country, of raping white women, of building taco stands on people's front lawns. This is shit that has actually been said. Referring to human beings as vermin and rats to detach them from their humanity, because if they are rats, then you don't treat rats with any kind of dignity or respect or attention that you would a human being. You exterminate rats. That's what they have been calling these people. That's what Donald Trump doesn't only refer to quote unquote undocumented people as, he refers to his dissenters as. We are moving at an escalated pace where anyone can be picked up. The other thing Donald Trump is looking into right now is how to quickly denaturalize citizens. It doesn't matter whether or not you think that you have a birth certificate that says US born, or you're carrying that little blue passport that says United States on it. We are getting to a point where your social media, these posts, people like myself and others, that will be the next wave. Because how easy was it to label Mahmoud Khalil a terrorist for exercising your freedom of speech, for having an opinion? How easy is it for them over the last couple of weeks to be calling for the deportation of Zoran Mandani and having him arrested? He's a communist. He's a terrorist. Says fucking who? They want all of us gone. So I don't want anyone who is listening to this to think, well, thank God I'm a US citizen. Thank God I'm naturalized. Thank God I have this amount of protection. As Sonia Sotomayor said at the close of that disgusting SCOTUS session, no rights are safe. No one is safe. That is what Donald Trump has made crystal fucking clear. Meanwhile, what else is going on? Oh, well, the fact that, this administration, this regime that says that they're doing so good for the American people, well, U.S. construction spending is down. They're putting up these tent facilities, and that's for private companies. But all around, guess what? Private construction, like homes, residential, non-residential, down. Why? Because ain't nobody want to fucking live here. And it's going to continue to trend that way. Because those that are seeing the writing on the wall and have the ability to leave are leaving. America is no longer an investment, right? It used to be American dream. You buy a home, you get your white picket fence, you claim your little piece of America. Every action that this administration has taken over the last 6 months is proving to be an economic disaster. Tourism is down. No one wants to come and visit here. Why would you? If you can be picked up by ICE for simply being in Times Square, as what happened to a mother from Chile. Leaving her underage daughter just in the middle of Times Square alone. You have undocumented workers not going into work. Why? Because ICE trucks are now in produce fields all around the country. Everything is about to become more expensive and also deteriorate at the same time. We are rapidly heading towards a Great Depression. And this time we're not coming together as Americans to build our way out of this. Because in that big, disgusting billionaire bill, getting rid of subsidies to build green, but have given more discounts to coal and oil companies. So there's no future here, is what this regime is ensuring. 77 million people voted for this. On top of which, his entire fucking clique is filled with criminals. Please take a listen to this.
You spent a lot of time with Secretary No today, obviously. Did you discuss with her at all this report about an $80,000 dark money payment she received in 23 and appears to have been kept off her federal disclosure reports?
No, I haven't. You're telling me this for the first time. I think she's done an amazing job.
All on Secretary No. I mean, you talked about
Who are you with?
the Washington Examiner, sir, Russia Nathan.
Good paper.
Thank you. Are you
So, just in case you didn't get the questioning, you spent a lot of time with Noam today, Ice Barbie. Did you discuss the report about an $80,000 dark money payment she received in 2023 and appears to have kept off of her federal disclosure? Trump. No, you're telling me this for the first time because who vets anybody? I think she's done an amazing job. Who are you with? Because otherwise, the who are you with is to decide whether or not you're a valid reporter. The Washington Examiner, which is a notably conservative outlet, good paper, actually. Thank you. So I leave you with this today before we head into Town Hall Tuesday. And as I tell folks that are here and are new, take a moment to like, comment, and hit the bell if you are on YouTube, and subscribe. If you're watching me on Substack, subscribe to the Damn Digest. I keep all of my content free and without paywalls. But if you have the ability to become a paid subscriber at the Damn Digest, please consider doing so and support independent media. But you will never miss anything because, like I said, I keep everything free because I believe, unlike the Washington Post, that democracy actually does die behind a paywall. So here's where I leave you at this moment. I have said this on every show, and I will continue to say it until I see it begin to materialize. The only way to fight fascism is for the people to rise up. One of my subscribers on the Damn Digest made this. Sophie posted this. Nationwide strike. That is the only thing that is going to stop this fascist movement. We are not voting our way out of this. We're not voting our way out of something that Donald Trump can cancel. I want to tell you that right now in Miami, they have canceled the mayor's race that was supposed to happen in November 2025. In a 3-2 vote, the Republican-controlled body decided, we're going to move the elections to even years, which means that the next election won't happen until 2026. And the person that is currently holding the position was supposed to be term limited out, just got gifted with another year. They just up and changed the date for the election. I believe that this is a test case. I also believe that what Donald Trump has been doing in LA and in places like New York and Chicago and others is also a test case to see whether or not he can commandeer the National Guard, sick them on the American people, and declare the Insurrection Act and declare martial law because we're under attack. There are so many ways that I believe, dear friends, that this midterm election isn't happening. And if it does, I'm not 100% sure that it is going to be free and fair. So that being fucking said, the only way that the people are going to regain power is if they shut this country down. I want the fucking energy that we see in Paris. I want the energy that we see in European nations, in the Netherlands just now, that are marching in The Hague against the genocide in Israel. I want to see millions and millions and millions of people taking to the street and saying, you know what we're not doing? We're not working for this white nationalist, capitalistic, patriarchal machine anymore. That we are reclaiming our power. We are reclaiming our voices. If we continue to make them money, if we continue to operate in this place of desperation, well, what about my bills? Well, what about this? Folks, what about your life? What about your life? Because first they come for the undocumented, then they come for the trans folks, then they come for the academics, then they come for the doctors and the scientists, then they come for everybody. We are stronger together than we are apart, and everyone is going to feel the pain of this regime. And the only way that we reclaim our power is to fight back together. Shut it the fuck down. Oh my God, who needs a drink? I know I do. Before I get out of here, for those of you that are new, on Tuesdays, I do Town Hall Tuesdays where folks are able to send me questions in the chat. So you type in question, big capital letters, followed by your question, and I will do my best to get to your questions. And again, for those of you that I did it again. Oops. But I'm back. Don't worry. So, folks, it takes absolutely nothing to like, comment, and subscribe. So I ask for that for you to like, comment, and subscribe. And again, if you have a question, ask your question. Big capital letters, and I will get to your questions. So without further ado, let's get into Town Hall Tuesday. All right. Question, Norma. I think that this regime is actually waging warfare on California in an attempt to economically devastate them to bring them specifically in line. What do you think? Oh, I love this question. So what do we know about California? California has, I believe, the fourth largest economy. I don't think that this administration is trying. I think that they are trying to economically devastate them, but I think that the country as a whole, particularly red welfare states, actually need California and New York more than they are letting on to, because California and New York are the generators. And so what I think should happen, what I believe we should see, is that Gavin Newsom, Kathy Hochul, who I have no faith in whatsoever, and I have very little faith in Gavin, should say, we're not giving, if you're taking over New York, you got the National Guard in my streets, you're talking about cutting our funding, cutting our access, invading our cities, we're not giving you one federal fucking dime. I think that, again, I want to see more collective organization with blue state governors. I want them to decide that, you know what? Maybe we set up our own trade deals, not only with each other, but with other countries. Canada, was talking about, the trades that they do with California in terms of energy, etc. There are ways that need to be collective thinking and creatively thinking that I don't think that Democrats are doing right now, because they think that they're going to get another bite at the apple in 2026. So we'll get them next election. We're living in the fall of the American empire. And I want people, particularly those that still have power, to act like it. Good question, Norma. Thank you for that. Hunting for another question. Trash Panda. What would be your number one thing in the world where we envision what we want our government to be? Interesting. So I would like representation vis-a-vis like quotas, meaning that I would love, imagine this, more than 51%, I think 51% of the population is women. Do you know how many women represent the percentage of women that make up our Congress? I think it's like less than 20%. I would like to see the representation in Congress, like in a new formed government, to actually match, right, the representation in this country. I think the same thing about LGBTQ folks. I think the same thing about trans folks, Black people, Indigenous folks, Asian folks. I would like to see, first of all, I don't want a two-party system anymore. I want a multiracial, multi-party system where everyone has a vote and access. And I want people to think, oh, this is impossible. That will never happen. It's always impossible until it's done. No one had ever heard of democracy before until it was created. So at a time when things are crumbling is when we need to get to be our most creative selves. What do we want to see next? Not just what we want to fight against. I love that question. Thank you. Let me look. Okay, question. I'm putting somebody in a timeout because everybody seems to be complaining about this person. Okay, question. Should there be boycotts of the World Cup, an Olympic game, mega tournaments due to be hosted on American soil? Will Americans care if this happens? Look, I have said, Gus, that the Olympic Committee as well as FIFA need to move their events. And I know that that's like easier said than done. And if you remember, with the rise of Hitler, the 1936 Olympics were held in Germany, right? Like we remember this. And the fact is that Ice Barbie has already said that for the FIFA games, for the World Cup, that they're going to be there. Deporting what? Tourists? Deporting the athletes? Detaining tourists and athletes? So if I'm coming in and I want to celebrate these momentous games, whether it be the Olympics in 2028 or the World Cup, I'm not coming. So I think that either you're going to see the numbers drastically down, which means that city like California, again, which is currently being invaded by the federal government, is not going to see the type of return in the investment that they are making to build these events out. Because I cannot imagine that in a year's time, in 2-3 years' time, that this situation that we're in right now will have gotten better. It will be drastically worse than it is right now. So if I am those associations, those committees, I'm rethinking. If there are no midterms, why are they gerrymandering? Because you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Honestly, those are my thoughts. Because why? But here's my other thing, Abe. 59% of the country, according to a Quinnipiac poll, are against the big billionaire bullshit bill, right? 59% of Americans. Republicans usually care about holding on to their power and would usually think twice about voting to make such massive cuts to SNAP and Medicaid and things that are wildly popular in this country, right? That millions of people, 80 million people are on Medicaid, right? My feeling is they're making these decisions because they know something the rest of us don't, that they're not going to lose their jobs, that they're not going to lose power. I know that they can't possibly think that we're all going to have collective amnesia as these cuts begin to take place in 2026. So those are my thoughts. I'm not saying it's true. Those are my thoughts. Smila. Do you think there will ever be a true awakening in this country? Yes, I believe that the whole world is waking up right now. I believe that there are more people that are conscious and woke to the patterns, to the gaslight, and to the bullshit that has been fed to us, the indoctrination, than there has ever been before. It is why I said yesterday, just looking at New York City as a microcosm, right? As what could possibly happen. And again, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars will be spent to try and stop Zoran Mondani from becoming the New York City mayor. But who voted for him? 18 to 24-year-olds showed up in a fucking primary because they're awake right now, because they are leaving college, going to college and recognizing the debt that they're going to be in. They're leaving college and recognizing that the world that their parents got to grow up in and, and work in is not the same, that they're not going to have houses that they own, that they're not going to have cars that they own, that they basically can't afford anything. And so I do believe that right now we are experiencing an awakening. And it's one that I wish that the establishment Democrats would capitalize on as opposed to trying to thwart it, which is what they're doing. So I don't agree with Elon Musk at all. I don't want his fucking party, but I do want a new party because the Democrats ain't it, right? And maybe it's the awakened party. I don't know what it is, but it's something that signals to the fact that like we're hip to the game that both Republicans and Democrats have been playing, and we don't want to play it anymore. Those are my thoughts. Angie, funny. Who does your hair? It's gorgeous. A wonderful stylist of mine, and very good friend of mine, does my hair, Alicia, and she is amazing. And I'm very grateful for her. And thank you for the wonderful compliment. Question: what can other countries do? Other countries, Julie, in my humble opinion, other countries can take what was done to end apartheid in South Africa, right? Sanctions. What was, like economic devastation. Stop trading with us, right? Like, I know that America has a lot, right? And what Donald Trump is doing with the tariff war is going to not only hurt the United States and hurt us as citizens because we're getting this huge consumer tax, but stop trading with us. Put sanctions on the U.S., right? Like, there are lots of things that other countries can do because they do them to these other quote unquote evil nations. And that's who America has become. Good question. Oh, here's a good one. I'll take two more. Danielle, Karen, what preparations would need to be made for a nationwide strike in terms of a strike fund? Very good question. Because I think that, if I'm not mistaken, during the Montgomery bus boycott, there were funds that were put together, right? So that folks would be able to carpool or get a car, or to take care of, the needs that wouldn't be met, right? So I think what I would like to see is I would like to see unions that have millions of members begin to take the lead on this, begin to take the lead on organizing. I'd like to see groups like, that have big, significant membership, like Planned Parenthood and other organizations, take the lead on this. Go after philanthropy that actually supports democracy and say what kind of fund. There needs to be strategic thinking. There needs to be a strategic role, to me, in terms of how we get to a full-blown national strike, is that you shut down important sectors first, and then it becomes like this domino effect. So those are my thoughts. And that's how I'd like to see things happen. Last question. There is a rapidly growing movement for California independence, California National Party. Would you move to a California Republic? Yes, I would. I would actually hope that New York would try and do something similar so that I wouldn't have to leave. California is lovely. But I'm a New Yorker and I'd like to stay here. All right, guys, that was fantastic. I appreciate each and every single one of you. I want to shout out those that have come in with some super stickers and super thanks today. So thank you to Ernst for your $20, Tesla's Taco for your $4.99, Eternal Energy for your $9.99, Elizabeth for your $5, Charlie for your $20, Frenchie Cutie Pie for $3.99. This is independent media, folks, like I say every single day. And I'm able to do this work and create the kind of content that you deserve because of your support. So every dollar, every cent, literally the $1.99s, the 99 cents, they all go a very long way, as does you just hitting subscribe. I'm trying to get to 30,000 is the next big major goal. You got me to 25,000. I think we're at 25.4. So we're trucking along and building damnation. And I couldn't be more grateful for each and every single one of you. So thank you so much, my dear friends. And for those tuning in on Substack, again, if you have not subscribed to the Damn Digest, consider subscribing. All of my content is free. But if you have the ability to become a paid subscriber, please consider doing so. But you will never, I will never put my stuff behind a paywall because, as Wajahat says, we're terrible capitalists. As always, dear friends, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will be back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well.